All right, guys, this is the new little PPK model that I made. I was requested many times for this because people needing a version that is cosplay friendly, collectible friendly, blah, 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 as far as, people wanting to have one that they can build and paint and with the same kind of functions and stuff. But so, this one is 100% cosplay friendly. Go to the Comic Cons. There's no way to make this a functional gun and all that good stuff. So, but overall, I mean, it is a spring-loaded hammer, trigger, as well as racking. Mag removes. The only thing on this that does not function, it even breaks down like, one actually does. The only thing that does not function like an actual one was, and I picked this model to make sliding and to do as many features as I could because I wanted to more perfect, be able to make these individual movements on all my models to make them a little bit more not complicated, but more functional as far as you're sitting down wanting to build a model, but not only for cosplay, but also for to collect or whatever your reason is for wanting one. And I was actually very surprised that I got the majority of the functions in here, except for the mag release, just because of how small of an area this particularly is. So, other than that, every other function is there. The mag is just magnetic inside the body there. So once you're done painting, and there's plenty of room and all the joints for painting, and we'll go over that as I build the model. So, all right, let's set this off to the side over here. And this is how the model comes. Off of here. And if you notice, there on the bag here, assembly diagrams can be found at traywickdesigns.com. Of course, if you're watching this video, you're watching it on my YouTube. So you have a slide here, you have the actual frame, you have the grip, a mag, and let's get all this out of the way. All right. And then you have a bag full of parts. First, let me find... Okay. First, you have a bag that has that comes with the two magnets. That's going to be for the mag. Let's set those off over here. And the screws will actually be in a separate bag, but I kind of was trying to get this together fairly quick. All right, sorry about that. Let's see. Okay, so what you end up with here is you have 3 set screws. Now, set screws, I get a lot of questions all the time, or I'll get people say, I have a screw here without a head, and they're set screws. On one end is, get that to focus, is an Allen. And it's just an Allen bit. Let me see which one. There you go. So an Allen bit, that's all it takes. In here you have 2 16mm Allens, or set screws. Then you have a 14mm. And the 14mm is going to be the one that actually holds your trigger guard on. So let's see, you also have your orange tip here, which is a required thing. It actually comes with 4, which it's crazy. The model's so little, it has so many springs in it. It has 4.5 springs. It has 1 flat blade screw that's, I think it's 25mm in length. and that goes through and holds the grip on. Then we have the rod, the steel rod, which actually goes inside the barrel. Let's see here. Then we have the trigger, we have the trigger guard, we have the hammer, and let's see. Let's pop this off. We have the little side switch of the slide, which ends up going on right there. That has no function or anything. Let's get this over here. So really the first piece of this model is we want to build the barrel. And as far as complex, that's probably the most complex thing to actually build here. And I am going to go slow with doing it because I've built like 3 or 4 of these. This is like the 4th one that I built, but I always build multiple as I'm designing them and having to print them and seeing how they interact. Because there's one thing of drawing them up and everything looks as though it's going to interact and mate together great. But once you physically get something printed out and you're dealing with thermoplastic and stuff, there's change that has to be made. Okay, this is the barrel. It's hollow inside where the original gun would have a big spring on the outside that you'd have a spring here, the slide would go on, and that's what operates it. Is finding a spring like that was damn near impossible. That wasn't actually like a 15-pound load spring, which is not what you want when you're trying to build just a little replica or whatever. So what we have here is the steel rod. We have this little piece here, which is the barrel catch. And this little piece here, which is just the cap that goes onto the back of this. And basically what we're doing is we're going to take this barrel catch. We're going to go right in there. We're going to stick that in there. And we want to make sure that it falls down in the body. So the little steel rod, there's a hole down in the barrel where it just fell down in there, okay? And then basically the steel rod should be about level with, trying to get this to show a little bit better here. I'm going to focus on what I'm holding, not on the background. Anyways, it should be level with the indentation in there. I definitely should have laid these magnets somewhere totally different than I chose. Okay. That you want to make sure that it's right there. Now, you're going to want a whole spring and a half a spring. And if you look at the springs, you're going to see, let me let this focus here, a single cut end. Okay, and this is important. The other end is where it's closed up against the coil. You see how it's closed right there? The other end is where the coil has been cut. Now this is important. You want the cut end to go in first. Okay? Then you take the other longer one and put them in there. And that's what you end up with, is you have a stack that, make sure I don't dump everything out, where the two meet right there. One of the reasons I had to do this was because just having springs the exact length you need, and the barrel cap will go on the back right there. And before you glue the barrel cap on, you can get in here and you can check and make sure that that collapses the whole way. If that does not collapse the whole way, all that means is you just need to take a screwdriver and play around with just moving these two springs around until they seat together nicely. See, it doesn't quite collapse there because I just messed around with the way the springs were. But see, there you go. That's all you want to make sure that it's doing correctly. Now, I'll go ahead and address this part, and later on, the only place that I found that this needed lubricant at all, and And it was only after it's painted, and Michael with Fanfiction Props did the painted version that I'll upload some pictures of later. Once you're done painting, of course, you got to make sure that you don't build up an excess amount of paint. I do leave gaps when you're doing these things. There is gaps in anticipation of the thickness of the paint. Now, what that means, though, is since you see this is back behind this slide, you can get this area painted, but you don't need it to be as thick and as many layers as what you're doing on the outside and the rest of it. But the only place that I found that we needed any lubricant at all is in the groove right here, which is what I was expecting. In what, as far as when it's printed like this, unfinished, no lubrication is needed because it just slides perfectly fine. But of course, you know, paint, of course, adds a little bit of friction area. So the lubricant helps. Now, here's the thing. WD-40 is not, and I repeat this, is not a lubricant. Now, WD-40, the brand name, they have started selling lubricants. But if you have a can of WD-40, regular old WD-40 sitting around, it is not a lubricant. Okay? Not close to being a lubricant, never was a lubricant. It's an anti-seize. And it's also petroleum based. Anytime that you use any lubricant on any kind of paint where it will be contacting paint, do not use a petroleum based. Okay? This right here, this is actually a lubricant that I use on my 3D print farm for all the moving slides and stuff of my printers. This is a synthetic oil. It is silicone based. And you actually can get silicone based lubricant. You can buy little packets of it. You can get it at automotive stores. You can basically get anywhere. The point I'm getting here is after you paint it, and also make sure after you paint that you leave the parts separated long enough for the paint to actually cure. Now, if you're in a rush and you need to get painted and get it done and it feels dry and you need to put it together and you're going to go to a Comic-Con or you're going to do this, do that, go ahead and do that. But make sure when you're done with it, go ahead and take it back apart. And the curing time on the majority of spray paint, or on the majority of spray paint, if you actually want it fully cured, is 2 to 3 solid days at room temperature. And the reason I'm saying that is because if you take two freshly painted surfaces that feel dry and put them together and just let them set, when you come back, you're going to find that for the most part that they're stuck together. And again, you know, if you end up putting some lubricant down in the channels right here and you assemble it and you work it back and forth and now it's all good to go, you're not, even if that paint is still curing a little bit, you're not going to really have to worry about that paint adhering to itself because you have some silicone based lubricant. Again, any silicone lubricant, as long as it's not petroleum based, as long as it doesn't have an anti-seize in it. Here, I'll actually show you. This stuff is literally, I know it's hard to see. I mean, it looks like water, but it's slick as snot. Yeah, snot is very slick, by the way. And there's not one of y'all that was not aware of that. But anyways, so really the reason I went ahead and brought the lubricant thing is if you wanted to put a drop in here. Now I've built, like I said, 3 or 4 of these. Michael's built a couple. He's painted a couple, whatever. None of them have needed lubricant because of the way purposely I did the design on the barrel catch and the rod here. They slide perfectly fine. But if you want to, again, if it's silicone based, it's not going to hurt anything to put a little bit right there on the rod, work it back and forth. None of this you should be painting none of this inside or the barrel catch. Now, if you want to blacken or silver, whatever, you're going to paint the barrel silver or whatever. And if you want to take it apart and you want this to kind of blend in, go ahead and paint that silver. But you don't have to gob it silver. It just needs to be silver. Now, the rest of the barrel and all that stuff can be a nice, finished, smooth silver paint job or black paint job, whatever color you're going for. It's just deep in these grooves and inside, you don't need it to be multiple layers of thick of paint and clear coat and all that stuff. So by the way, I was going to tell you guys, and this is not me bad talking a certain brand of glue, but for years I used Bob Smith glue, and I love Bob Smith glue. But recently I've changed, and this is not me endorsing this company at all. It's just I bought 3 or 4 different types to try out, because the Bob Smith, the past 6 months, the probably 8 or 9 bottles I've bought, they're all different. Some would set, some wouldn't set, some would cure, some wouldn't cure. Some of the bottles, you open them brand new and they're completely clogged, and just, I don't know. It just got to the point I was for the amount that I was paying for it and what I was getting. This is just one of the 6 different brands that I tried. Got it off of Amazon or whatever, but it's a 2-part. It's a CA glue. You have the glue and stuff. It's thick. You use it, set your parts together. And this is an aerosol compared to what the pump was with the Bob Smith, but then you just barely hit it and it, insta-set your glue. So anyways, like I said, I'm not bad mouthing Bob Smith glue because I loved all of their products. Just recently, I've had nothing but, the past 6 months has been hell with their glue, and I use a lot of their glue, and it's just been hell. And I don't know, maybe it'll get straightened out once the rest of the world gets straightened out. I don't know. But for right now, if you're having trouble with Bob Smith glue or you're looking for CA glue or whatever, this seems to be some very, very awesome glue. So with that being said, take it for what it's worth. Anyway, so what we're going to do is I just go in here and we're just going to put a little bit of glue in the pocket there. It doesn't matter if you get it on the spring or any of that other stuff. And you may have to shake it around just a little bit. Now hold that on there. And I'm going to try to do this. Well, it's kind of like trying to use that aerosol breath spray and missing your mouth. Reminds me of the movie Dumber and Dumber, where he's like, and he never even hit his mouth. But anyways, so it's glued in. And I also did this too, because once this is all assembled, it kind of looks like there's a bullet sitting in the barrel in the chamber. So, but okay, so now we're good to go. We're flexing, we're compressing, we're doing all the good stuff. So the barrel's done. I'm going to set this aside for a minute. What we can do is we can go ahead and we need 1 spring for the hammer. Okay. We'll need 1 spring for the trigger, which the trigger in the barrel, that we'll go over that in a second. And then the trigger guard also has a spring, which, hang on, let me put my glue top back on before I get that everywhere. The trigger guard is also spring loaded, just like a real one is. So, to break it down. And you on a real one, you have to pull this down to get that notch out of the way so that the slide goes far enough back to come off. So, so what we're going to do here is, if we want to, let's go ahead and put the spring in, and we'll just go ahead and put the trigger guard on. Now this one, here, let me get this ready, because this has a little bit of a load on it. There we go, ready. Again, and I always tell people in every one of these videos, these little cheap kits, they're like $6 or something at Harbor Freight. Literally I've not ever broke any of the tips in them, and I've got like 10 sets of these all around the shop and in my office and everything else. And they're great little kits to have, especially when you're doing work like this. But go ahead and just push that down in there. And I've got the hole lined up, and all it's taking is my finger sitting there to hold it. Ah, crap. Okay. So anyways, get in there. And also, I'll repeat this because a lot of people don't realize it, but no threads print when this stuff is, when the models are being printed out. The screws cut the threads. And I get a lot of people say, well, I don't see any threads, or there's no threads or anything. And that's perfectly normal. Threads are too small to actually print at this scale. But cutting threads is perfect because you end up exactly with what you need. So work that back and forth. There we go. Awesome. Works just like it's supposed to. Go figure, huh? Okay. So then the next part, this here, you can take the spring and just twist it a bit, and it kind of locks in there a little bit. What we're looking for is there's a hole that seems to be going the complete opposite direction of what we need it to. Just simply push your finger and curve it. So now the spring is now curved from the bottom of the hammer. And here's the thing, I will probably lose grip on this a couple of times trying to do this. Okay, there. I know it's really, really hard to see, but I actually have it lined up with the hole. So we're going to take us one of the 16 millimeter set screws, get it set on there on our driver. And I think I let the whole thing move on me. Or did I? I can't tell. Nope, I didn't. There we go. Now, on this one is a very loose fitting hole. And you can literally push the set screw in, and it grabs more on the hammer than it does the body. And there's a reason for that. And it's not that it's nothing to worry about, because once you put the grip on, the grip comes up here and screws on. You never have to worry about that. That allows as much freedom in here as you can possibly get. And if you want to, you can just double check that as much of the spring is curved. So now when you work it, that is what you're getting right there. Okay. Don't let this slam forward, because you'll break that tab off. It may not happen the first time you do it, but it'll happen. And I say that because I've done that. Thing is once this is together, that hammer never comes close to that tab. And if the tab does come off, don't worry about it, because the tab actually serves no purpose. It's just one of those things that in design and in printing, having it there in creating actually makes it much, much easier to have it there. And it's there for that reason. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and take the trigger, pull the hammer back, set the trigger down in there. And we don't need it all cocked together. Now, this one will actually screw in as soon as I get the hole lined up. And I wish there's a way to, well, actually, I think, yeah, you can see my hand through there. So it's all lined up now. So let's get this put in there. I'll move these bags out of the way, because that shine is killing a lot of things there. Okay. So what we want to do, now that the trigger's in, take your finger and put some pressure down on it. And let's make sure that our range of motion for the trigger is actually going down far enough with just a little pressure on it, because that's where the spring's going to sit. Spring's right there. Now, the reason I say that is because spring goes in the bottom of the barrel, and once we glue the barrel on, you're not taking that trigger out. The trigger's there. You can't get the trigger back out. So that's why I say just put your finger there. Let's make sure everything works great. Awesome. Okay. So set this to the side. Now what we want to do here, and this is the fun part, I've got to try to do all this and stay in camera and focus and all that stuff. I always put the springs in the hole, and you can twist them a little bit and you'll feel them kind of grip. So they'll just kind of sit there. So now what we're going to want to do is, and actually let me get down here so I can, we want to put glue down this side, across that little, everywhere that you see. And if you want to take the spring back off and look and see where this sets and contacts, you're going to be putting glue on this little island here, this side, and this connecting point. And that's it. Nowhere else. Make sure that you don't get globby and get glue down in here, because if you glue your trigger, you're screwed. You know, there's not much to say about that. You can always, if you don't end up getting what you feel is enough glue, once you glue it on, go back on the seam and run you some glue down it, and you're accomplishing the same thing. So anyways, I'm going to put the spring on there. Let me, before I open the glue up, press that bad boy down. All right. Whoop. I almost let that fling across. Good Lord. Almost flung it across the room. I tell you what, if y'all ever get a chance, you need to come over to my Twitch channel. It's Twitch or YouTube that I stream on, rotating and stuff. I haven't decided where I want to continue. And I'm not saying come there to like monetary support, but come there, come hang out, give me some feedback, tell me about models that you guys would like to see and like me to do. And, you know, it offers a way for all of us to talk and to communicate more than trying to send messages back and forth. And not that I try to be bad about returning messages. I just have a lot of messages. And in the midst of trying to print, clean, box, ship, and do models and stuff, it becomes very hard to not miss some models. All right, so I press that together and I got some glue all over the side. And we're just... Now, if you just want to use regular super glue, thick super glue, that works fine. I just use this because I like being able to go and it's done. And I say that. All right. So we're good. We're all seated, good to go. All right. Got a little super glue on my thumb there. Okay. So then let's go ahead, since I got the glue right here handy, let's go ahead and put the little side piece on. Okay. Get it straight, because that's where it needs to set neutrally. Okay. And we're done. Okay, let's get that out the way. So now I could go ahead and slide this on, but I just precautionary. I just like waiting a little bit, let everything settle down and all the activation to finish activating and all that good stuff. So while we're doing that, let's go ahead and get the magnets put in for the body and the... Now, I've gone over this before in other videos. Of course, if you haven't bought those kits and watched those videos, then you wouldn't know what I'm talking about. So I'll go over it again. And plus, also on that note, I'm going to be doing some videos that not only cover the prepping and painting, because it seems to be that there's a million different videos and thoughts out there on how to prep and like 3D printed parts. And 90% of them make it like, well, 90% harder than it needs to be. It's one of the world's most simple things to do to get these ready for a paint job and have them glass smooth. So well, I'll be doing some videos on that. Just I'm going to start trying to do a lot more videos as far as people have questions about the type of 3D printers. I want to do some videos in the shop and go over the different features and functions of my 3D printers, because I actually use custom ones that I designed myself because of basically I've tried every 3D printer known to man and they all have various different issues, which is normal. I mean, it's an evolving field, but I've taken all of that, 8-9+ years worth of hundreds of thousands of hours of print time and put it into designing my own printers that I use. So people are always asking, hey, what type of printers? And I tell them, well, it's printers that I designed. And sometimes I feel like they think I'm blowing them off, which I'm not doing. I mean, that's just my answer. But what I do is I take a Sharpie, because if you screw this up, instead of a clip or a mag that goes in and stays, you'll put it in and let go and it'll shoot it out. So getting your magnets in the orientation so they function the way they're supposed to, very, very important. So this is basically in my brain the whole time I'm doing this, because I have screwed magnets up. I've put them in and like put things together and they push apart and it's like, well, crap. I always think of the black side goes to the back in the hole. So now that I've marked this, I always know as I put these two in, as long as the black side that I've used a Sharpie goes in, we're good. I can take them apart and not ever even put them back together again. As long as I put them in that way, we're fine. So I'm going to show you how to put one in the body real easy, because a lot of people are like, I'm having a hard time getting the magnet in. I can't, it's on other models, it's too small of an area. Take a flat blade screwdriver. Take the shiny side, not the black side. Stick it to there. We're good to go now. Now we're going to put some glue. If for some reason you can't get in there and put glue in the hole, put it on the back there. But then all you got to do is take it, put it in the hole, let it set for a minute, and, well, it would have stayed, is just drag. Okay. How about I go ahead and glue it in there and I'll show you what the hell I'm talking about. Just take our glue. And I'm going to actually be making a lot more revolvers and old guns like I did with the Peacemaker and stuff like that. I have some new custom Mandalorian rifles that I'm working on, but I am seriously considering not doing them for various reasons. All right, anyways, so I just put a glob of glue in there, okay? I take this sucker right here, and if you really want it to set quick and you're using this type of glue, oh, there we go, spray the table and miss. Okay, take it and just simply put it down in the hole, hold it for a minute, and pull it out. And you can stick your finger in there and wipe off any excess glue, anything like that. And now we're set. It's in there. It ain't going nowhere. A little bit of glue got on the top side. Just pull it off. Bam. It's in there the way it's supposed to be. We're going to do this side. And I actually like doing this even on the holes that I can reach just fine, because it keeps me from going like that and it smushing out and getting all over my damn hand. So, just a little bit of drop. Okay, take it, just go squish, slide it off. And we're good. Yep, no glue on there. Good as far as that goes. All right, so now make sure there's no uncured glue. So now we're in. Not going nowhere. Okay, so now remember on this, to put it on, you have to pull this down, or you can sit here and fight all day long and it's not actually going to go on. So now this is the part when we first put it together, everything seems a little stiff. So all we want to do is work it back and forth. Hold on a second. All right. And what I do is take a little bit of of lube. Let me wipe this off on my pants. There you go. That's just what I need to do. All right. So once this is painted, that's all you got to do. That right there. And just sit here and work it back and forth. And then it finally just gets settled in. Take it back apart. And like I said, when this is glued, painted, you see where, the lubricant gets. That's why you only need enough paint on there to actually make the color of what you're painting it. But, all right. So then let's go ahead and put our grip on. And it goes from the right-hand side straight through. Sitting there trying to look at the camera and then do this and use a flat blade screwdriver and tighten it down. And now we're good and tight. Okay, let's put us a mag in here. Let's get the screwdriver out of the way, put the top back on the lubricant before we spill that all over the place. And we are done. Except for one thing, we're going to glue on the orange tip. Just as a PSA, that is you guys' responsibility, and the last thing that you need to do to be compliant with not only federal law, but also Comic-Cons. So just make sure you're doing what you need to do to stay within the rules of not only the Comic-Cons, but, again, we don't need anybody out in public with a replica gun and anything happening. Because that's bad for you, but that's bad for everybody. So let's just, unfortunately, do what we're supposed to do. Trying to look at the camera and spray a spray. Makes so much sense. But anyways, so there. We are done. It's actually a really cool little gun. So, if you want to, release, cock it without the slide it in there, pull it out. So there you guys go. That's the little PPK model. I hope you guys have fun with it. If you have any questions, issues, or problems, just hit me up. The easiest way to get a hold of me is directly through my website, which is traywickdesigns.com. It's on the label. There's a contact form on there, or there's a direct, a direct chat thing down at the bottom right. And yes, that does come directly to me. I'm not awake 24 hours a day, so just remember that. I will get back to you guys. But if you have any input, feedback, suggestions, anything like that, just let me know. I'm always open to improvements, not only in existing models, but just adding functions to existing models, ideas on new models, any of that good stuff. So anyways, I hope you guys like it. Thank you and have a good one.